Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to remark on what has been, on balance, a pretty good week for Ukraine. And I don't just mean winning Eurovision, but militarily, there was a potentially big breakthrough. To what extent it's symbolic or strategically important remains to be seen, but very good news in Ukraine right now. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I will have to mention Eurovision first. Before getting on to the serious stuff, so many congratulations. Let's hope they are able to host the event safely next year, as is traditional for the winners. Has to be pointed out, UK came second. Not seen that for a while. Not being able to even imagine that result for a long time. I did feel compelled to mention that the last time the UK won Eurovision, Labour replaced the Conservatives in government a few weeks later. So, Europe, if you want to help out and get rid of Boris Johnson, winning Eurovision in the next year or two would be very much appreciated. But although the contest win was a nice piece for Ukraine, it doesn't stop their cities being bombed, their people being whisked off to the gulags or killed. What stops this is driving the Russian forces back. Now, before I get on to some of the really encouraging signs this week, I'll have to immediately counterpoint it with the public United States strategic view. They've said it seems to be a bit of a stalemate. They see this as getting bogged down now for some time as well. And we know that both the US and the UK authorities have been saying that this could drag on for a very long time. And as nothing more than an interested observer myself, we have seen this before, haven't we? We know from history. Political leaders will sometimes try and promise a swift end to wars, and they go on for years. Maybe we're going to get the reverse here, warning us it'll last for years, but maybe a major tipping point could be reached by the end of this year. A lot of things going on against Russia right now, and in the foreseeable future. Remember, the economic pressure that Russia will face later this year, sooner or later. Most of Europe, including the EU and the UK, are planning to do without Russian oil, at least by the end of the year. Yes, Orban is being a bit of a dick, but he's just up to his usual bribery. He's not actually going to block the EU plans. He's just after a bit of, cash. In addition, as I've mentioned numerous times, Russia will face manufacturing problems as they start to run out of parts for their Western imported machinery. Putin may well be settling into a long protracted war, but it is all going backwards for him. I wonder if anyone's even told Putin of the manufacturing issues that Russia may be facing soon. Because we do keep hearing stories of senior Russian officials believing that the president is very seriously ill. Now, if true, and these are always very big ifs, then maybe they're just keeping things from him in the hope that he's in hell before they find out. Maybe that's what those in the circles of power are doing right now, running down the clock. Getting up each morning. Is he dead yet? No. Right. Okay. But this may or may not be the case. He may carry on for years yet, like a demented Duracell bunny. But for Putin, there doesn't seem a credible way forward for him here. The Ukrainians are not suddenly going to wear themselves out. They're defending their homeland. In a war of attrition, in general terms, favours the defender because their motivation will be maintained. They face a literal existential threat. What are the attackers facing if they lose? What's their motivation? What happens if they lose? Go back to their families? Doesn't sound like a bad outcome to me. So Russia are not going to be able to regain any forward momentum without a new dimension to the war. Ukraine is being supplied by Western powers, so it's not going to run out of munitions and other hardware. The Russians have tried and failed, of course, multiple times to cut off Ukrainian supply lines, because if they could cut off Ukraine's supply lines, then we can't physically get them the stuff. So, but they haven't been able to do that. So Ukraine's forces will be able to maintain their inward flow of hardware. They're winning. So they aren't going to run out of troops before Russia either. Russia keeps attempting to encircle Ukrainian forces and eliminate them, and they just end up overstretching themselves because they haven't got the resources to do it. It keeps failing. And with each new failure, they've fewer of their own resources to try it again elsewhere because they just lose out. They failed around Kiev. Now they've failed around Kharkiv. This weekend has seen reports of Russian forces withdrawing from Kharkiv so far that if the reports are to believe, the city is no longer under serious threat from anything other than very, very long-range bombardment. An assessment from the Institute for the Study of War has suggested that the Russians were unable to hold against the Ukrainian counteroffensives and were not able to get reinforcements into their positions. Possibly Russian stooges in the comments will try and claim, it's a feint though, they're trying to suck them in. It's common military tactic there, Phil. Just like they did when Russia withdrew from Kiev. Well, that was a while ago now. What happened? In fact, some of the comments in these videos are actually quite interesting. When I said that I make sure to get my strategic information from those who have been proven right so far, you get people trying to link me to counters. Oh yeah, but this person says this person says that. But guess what? My sources continue to be right week after week. This is all playing out in the way that genuine military strategic experts claimed it would. So Russia is now being driven further and further back. I'm conscious of what the United States said about a general stalemate. So I don't want to get too excited. I don't know whether they're saying that just for public consumption or that is their genuine strategic assessment. So yeah, I don't want to go thinking there's going to be some major offensive by Ukraine to really push sometime this year. But what we have been seeing is Ukraine adopting, I suppose, something more akin to guerrilla tactics. Russia stretches out. Ukraine takes out their extremities and then back again. Cutting the Russian supply lines, isolating units, then driving them back. Slow and steady wins the race here, it seems. And when I talked weeks ago about the cause for Ukraine to hit Russia where it feels safe, we've seen increasing evidence of this. This last week, there was footage, I'll link it in the comments below if I remember. There was some footage of a Russian tank just driving along the road, being obliterated, well back into Russian-held Ukraine, almost at the Russian border, in fact. Now, if true, and I can't possibly comment on the reliability of information as to the location, but that would be showing Russian forces that they aren't safe anywhere in Ukraine. If they're not safe a few miles away from the Russian border, I mean, I've said in the past, if you can get an invading force to worry about their defences, they dare not commit as many resources into the attack. The defence of your own positions comes first. The next targets for Ukraine seem to be Snake Island, where a standoff there early in the escalation has been commemorated on a stamp, and the area between Donbass and Crimea. Our friend Dr. Mike Martin is of the belief that there is the possibility that Ukraine could see rapid gains if it's able to meet these strategic goals, because it would sow panic amongst the Russian ranks. Remember, the Ukraine forces are well trained and their morale is high. Neither of these attributes may be used to describe the Russian forces. I suppose we can also say that Ukraine is able to identify realistic military objectives and then work on a plan to achieve them. Russia is trying to devise plans to meet the wishes of a madman who cannot see that the situation is lost for him. They're chasing unicorns. Perhaps because nobody dares tell Putin what the realistic situation is. But strategic assessments aside, what is clear is that the momentum is with Ukraine. They absorbed the invasion and then started pushing back weeks ago. There have been several key battles in the last month where things were in the balance, and on each and every occasion, it's Ukraine who came out on top. With each battle won, Ukraine can consolidate, the morale of their troops is maintained, maybe even boosted. With each battle lost, Russia has to withdraw, and the morale of their troops sinks lower. I do not know what Russian people have been told exactly, but you cannot tell actual battalions of soldiers that it's going well when they keep being diminished in number and taking part in a series of retreats back to their own borders. Their real borders, that is. Not the ones Putin tried to draw on the map with Trump's Sharpie. Russia has still not made net losses in terms of Ukraine's territory, of course. Since their escalation in February, they've still got those areas, as well as a few others. But there is a rock-solid determination from Ukraine. And I've seen nobody suggesting what Russia can realistically do to turn things back in their favour. A month ago, there were strategic experts saying, well, Russia needs to do this, Ukraine wants to try and do this. Now, I'm looking at what people are saying. It's like, Ukraine needs to do this. I'm not really seeing people saying, well, Russia needs to do this. It's almost like people have said, Russia's got nothing now. They've got nothing. You know, remember that any attempts to escalate, people will naturally think in terms of escalation, nuclear and so on. But any escalation in terms of the type of weaponry that Putin tries to introduce now would very likely see a severe response from Western forces. And finally, it's worth bearing in mind, today's a bit of an anniversary. I put a little note in it as well. On the 15th of May, 1988, Soviet forces began their withdrawal from Afghanistan. Yes, that blighted country is yet to recover, poor sods, but 34 years later, Russian forces are withdrawing from their latest occupation as well. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button, maybe even click on the join button if you'd be interested in memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.